Good morning, Kip One Primary. This is Mr. Jennings, and this is the start of our excellence class this week. So, like we do with each lesson, we start with our hope values. Our hope values are honor, optimism, perseverance, enthusiasm, and love. Let's all say these together. Honor, optimism, perseverance, enthusiasm, and love. This month's value, we've been focusing on what? Let's see if you were right. Love. What does love mean to you? Love means to be cared about. Love means that you have a deep passion for something that you feel cared about. Why is showing love important? Showing love is important because it shows people that you care about them, that you have passion for them, and that you want them to succeed. When you love someone, you want the best for them. I want you to think, how do you feel when someone loves or shows love to you? I'll say it again. How do you feel when someone loves or show love to you? I'll go. Mr. Jennings feels like really nice. I feel really excited. I'm really happy when people show love to me. And I'm hoping that you guys feel the same way because at our school, we want to make sure that you guys feel loved and that your brain feels loved as you are in school. Let's read the bottom passage together. Love. I love myself because I am beautiful and wonderfully made. I love myself because there is nobody in the world like me. I was made to be who I am, and I love who I am. I love my community because we are one team and one family. I love everyone because our differences make us unique and our similarities connect us to one another. So that wraps up love, and love means way more things than I just said, and it has different feelings to love, but make sure that you are showing love and that you are receiving love. And if you don't feel the love all the time, watch our videos because I want you guys to know that not only Mr. Jennings love you, but all the teachers at our school, all of our friends love you guys as well. So I hope that you feel that love as well. Learning objectives. In this lesson, KIPSers will be able to understand the relationship between membership and community and will be able to identify ways in which communities define membership. KIPSers will also be able to understand how membership in a particular group can influence how people view those outside of the group. KIPSers also will be able to learn about Thurgood Marshall. Finally, KIPSers will be able to understand that education is key to success. Vocabulary to know. I want to say all of these words together. Equality or equal. This means treated fairly. Make sure you're saying the vocabulary words with me. Equality or equal means treated fairly. Inequality means not treated fair. Segregation means split up, which means separate or split based on the color of your skin. Desegregated means not split. So everyone together, blacks and whites, in the context of what we're learning about. And race. Race pertains to what a person looks like. So I'm going to focus on one word here, and that is desegregated, which means not split, which means everyone is together, which is a great thing. Who can tell me what is the first sound that you hear in desegregated? Desegregated. The letter D. If you say the letter D, you are right. The word is desegregated, which means not split, and everyone is together, blacks and whites, which is how we have it in the world today, where things are not in the law saying that we need to be segregated. But now we have the life where we can be desegregated, which is a great thing. This month is Black History Month, and unfortunately, this is our last week celebrating Black History Month. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep on celebrating Black history. Black history is a large part of American history that isn't taught. So at KOP, we want to make sure that you know your history. At KOP, we know Black history is important, and we want you to feel empowered to learn and stand up for equality. So we want you guys to be fighters of equality. And that doesn't mean like fist fight. I mean, with your voices, make sure that your voices are heard. And because when your voices are heard, you're standing up for equality. If you see something where people are judging people on their color, you can stand up for equality by saying that's not nice or that's not fair, and telling people that we shouldn't do those things. We want to be showing equality in all that we do. Separate but equal. Last week, we talked about things that were separate but equal. But when we were looking at those things, like when we were looking at the water fountains and looking at the different places to eat, were these places equal? Were they fair? The answer to that question is no. They were separate, but they were not equal. They were separate, but they were not equal, which is not good. So if we went to a restaurant, for example, one of my favorite restaurants is McDonald's. So if I went to McDonald's and I went through the door and ordered McDonald's, that is usually how I do it. But if back in these days, let's say if someone said like, hey, you can't go through the front door, you have to go through the alleyway to get your McDonald's. Does that seem fair that someone else can use the front door and you can't? No, that's not fair. And we're going to do some activities to see if it was fair or was it not unfair? Was it not fair or inequality? Do you think it's equal to stop someone from doing something based on the color of their skin? We're going to do some activities to see if things are equal or not equal. So here I have two different colored crayons. I have a silver crayon and I have a gold crayon or gold crayon. So I have silver crayons and I have gold crayons. Now, we're going to take a quick test and you're going to be able to raise your hand for whichever crayon that you like. So if you like silver crayons, raise your hand. All right, 1, 2. Okay. If you like gold crayons, raise your hand. Okay, so what if Mr. Jennings said that I have some candy? Okay, here's some candy. These are some Twizzlers. And what if I said only people who like gold crayons, and you can't change your answer because I see who all chose what. If I said that only gold crayons can get Twizzlers, does that seem fair? Let me think. Does that seem fair if I say only friends who like gold crayons can get Twizzlers and silver crayons don't get any Twizzlers? Is that fair? Is that equal? Answer to that question, let's think here. Was that equal? Yes or no? Yes or no? The answer is no, that was not equal. Mr. Jennings just chose a crayon and gave those people who wanted those gold crayons candy and then gave the silver ones no candy just because they liked gold crayons. That is not fair. That is not equal. No way, Jose. Let's move on. So, do you think it's equal to stop someone from doing something based on the color of their skin? So right here, I have two different people. I have a black boy and I have a white boy. Now, Mr. Jennings has some of his favorite books here. I have Kamala Harris Superheroes. I have Emmys for Melanin. I have 10 Tiny Dragons. I have Pete the Cat. I have Where Does the Garbage Go? I have Who Was Martin Luther King Jr.? So I have all of these books, okay? I have all of these books, okay? So what if I said that only the white boy was able to get all of these books because his skin color is white? And I said that the black boy gets no books because his skin color is black. Does that seem fair? Yes or no? I want you guys to think. Does that seem fair if I give all of the books to the white boy because he's white and then tell the black boy that he gets no books because he is black? Does that seem fair? The answer is no. You got it right. That is not fair. No way, Jose. The right thing would be able to do is to be able to tell them to share these books, not even to split them, but that they can share them equally and be friends and learn about these books together. And that is how the world should be. So if I told them to share the books and read them together, is that fair? Yes or no? Yes, that is correct. The answer is yes, that is equal for them to share the books and learn together. So last week, we learned about Ruby Bridges, and Ruby Bridges being the first African-American student to be in a desegregated school in the South. During that time, whites didn't want Black people in their schools. This was a time when laws were changing and we were saying no more segregation. Ruby Bridges was very courageous to join this school and was one of the pillars to helping schools become unsegregated. So Ruby Bridges had to be very courageous to go to a school by herself with a lot of white people. But she had to get different security guards and different police officers to be around her just to keep her safe from white people. Because during that time, white people were going to treat her very badly, like we seen with the Little Rock Nine. With these nine people that were in history, now we'll all say their names: Gloria Ray, Terrence Roberts, Melba Patillo, Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Minnie Jean Brown, Jefferson Thomas, Carlotta Walls, and Thelma Mothershed. We seen with the Little Rock Nine in Arkansas how these nine high schoolers went to school and people were keeping them out. They had security. The mayor was not a nice guy, and he put security so they couldn't get into school. But then the president, just like he did for Ruby Bridges, gave these nine people security so they were able to go into the school. On their first day of school, when they went, there were white people who were trying to hurt them, who treated them badly, which we seen a video of last week, which is not equal, which is unfair. And now we are able to go to school wherever we want and with whoever we want. So why constantly fight for equality? Although it was tough for schools to be desegregated and tough for the students, like in the Little Rock Nine, those nine students in Ruby Bridges, it was tough for them to be in those schools. But it had to happen in order for us to receive equality in new laws. So for us wanting to, or seeing these people, or Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock Nine and other people go into these desegregated schools, it helped us have laws today where all schools are now desegregated for the most part. So we're able to go to any school we want to go to, and it doesn't matter what your skin looks like. And back then, it mattered what your skin looked like to go to different schools. For these students to be able to go to schools where white people went, there had to be laws. So they may have to make laws for us to be able to go to school with anybody we want to. Laws are made to make sure equality and justice are served. So laws are for to make sure everything is equal and that justice is showing in everything that we do. So we're going to be moving on to a person who knows and creates the law. Before we get to that, I want you to think, out of these three people, who creates laws? How are laws created? So, for example, no stealing. Stealing is not good. That is a law. Who do you think made that law? So I have three different awesome careers that we have here. We have lawyers and judges, which is right here, lawyers and judges, firefighters, and policemen or police officers. We have lawyers and judges, firefighters, and police officers. Who do you think creates the laws? I'll give you a couple seconds to think. Who creates those laws? All right. If you said lawyers and judges, you are right. Lawyers and judges create laws. Police officers, they help enforce those laws that the lawyers and judges made. And firefighters put out fires and help people all the time. So we are still talking about separate but equal. So I want you first to think about law. So we're going to be going into a lawyer who then became a judge. So a lawyer can become a judge at some point. All judges have been lawyers before. So we're going to talk about this young girl here. Her name is Linda Brown. So Linda Brown, her home was here. So around this star is her home. Right by her home was a white school. But Linda Brown couldn't go to that white school. This white school was segregated at the time. So this was even before Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock Nine. The white school was segregated. So she had to go all the way around the white school, all the way over to go to the colored school because these schools were segregated. Does that seem fair? No, because the white school is right by her house, but she has to walk miles and miles away and go miles and miles away to go to a colored school, which doesn't seem fair. And she also had to go around that school and not get the best education that she thought she could receive at the time. So she wanted to be able to go to this white school, but she wasn't the only one. There's many people that went through the same thing, but for this, we're going to be talking about Linda Brown. So Linda Brown wanted to go to this white school, just like a lot of people did, because the white schools had a better education in a lot of those times. So they got a lawyer to help them. And this helped everyone around the world. That lawyer's name was Thurgood Marshall. Everybody say Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall was born on July 2nd, 1908 in Baltimore, Maryland. He wanted to go to the University of Maryland Law School. They didn't accept him because he was Black. He was also the NAACP's lawyer. His most notable case is Brown versus Education. So Linda Brown, that young girl we just saw, she went against the Board of Education, which means she went against the schools so she can tell them that that was not fair. Linda Brown wanted to tell the schools that that was not fair, that she couldn't go to those schools. So she got Thurgood Marshall to help her because separate schools were not equal. He learned the law so he could accurately stand up for equality and justice. Till this day, and even further, creating laws is the best way to get justice and equality. So a lot of you guys will be our next lawyers, our next judges, our next a lot of things. So knowing laws is very important, just like Thurgood Marshall was able to do. So before we go on to the next part, I'm going to read you a little bit more about Thurgood Marshall. Before we move on, we're going to read a little bit more about Thurgood Marshall. Like I said, he was a lawyer who became a judge and became one of the first African-American men to become a part of the Supreme Court, which is the largest judges in the world, or in our country at least. Thurgood Marshall, 1908 to 1993, Supreme Court Justice. Thorogood, later shortened to Thurgood, was a naturally argumentative boy and a bit of a troublemaker. His punishment for talking too much was to memorize the U.S. Constitution. So this might be something that we do when we start back school, because we have a lot of people who talk a lot too. So you might be those next lawyers, just like Thurgood Marshall was, because he talked a lot and he always wanted to argue different things. And they made him read the Constitution. That's how he first began reading laws, which was probably not the wrong thing for him, considering that one day he would become one of the world's leading constitutional scholars. By the time he applied to college, Thurgood knew he wanted to be a lawyer. He hoped to attend the University of Maryland School of Law, but he couldn't because he was Black. The anger and frustration about that instilled in him a deep desire for justice and equality. Instead, he earned his law degree from the historically Black college, Howard University, which is a great college still to go to. Not long after graduation in 1933, Thurgood began working with his mentor, Charles Houston, which was another lawyer for the NAACP. He wanted to help fight for civil rights, and they often called Thurgood Marshall Mr. Civil Rights because he always fought for civil rights. Sorry, where am I here? The major goal was to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court, ruling that segregation was legal if the segregated facilities near were separate but equal. Black people in America knew that their facilities were nowhere near equal, and that they had nothing close to the same opportunities as white people. And Thurgood had proof. UMD School of Law, he and Charles made the case to Maryland State Court that in order to uphold the separate but equal law, UMD would need to have a second school that admitted Black students. So he used his law degree to go against the school that didn't let him in. In 1936, they won. It was the first in a long time of cases they brought to take down legal segregation. Then in 1954, Thurgood brought the case of Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka to the U.S. Supreme Court, which we just talked about. It was the landmark ruling that would lead to the end of legal segregation in this country. So this was a case that stopped segregation in our schools and in our country. So Thurgood Marshall is a pretty big guy to know about. In 1967, Thurgood was appointed as an associate justice to the U.S. Supreme Court. He would be the first African-American justice. In his long career, he was known for his constitutional knowledge and even helped the United Nations draft the constitutions for the newly formed countries. So that's a little bit about Thurgood Marshall and how him going against the Board of Education helped our schools to be desegregated even to this day. Who else were lawyers? So some other people that you might have heard of that were lawyers before they became the president and the vice president was Barack Obama. Barack Obama is our first Black president, and he also was a lawyer. Also, Kamala Harris, who was our first Black vice president, also our first female vice president, and our first Black female vice president, also was a lawyer. So lawyers are great people and they can do great things, just like Thurgood Marshall, Barack Obama, and Kamala Harris. Wrapping up. In this lesson, Kipster was able to understand the relationship between membership and community and will be able to identify ways in which communities define membership. Kipster were also able to understand how membership in a particular group can influence how people view those outside of that group. Kipster will also be able to learn about Thurgood Marshall. Kipster will also be able to understand that education is the key to success. I have a dream speeches. I'm going to show you guys a couple of I have a dream speeches that I have in, so you guys can send them in. This is going to be our last week before Mr. Jennings makes an entire video with everyone's I have a dream speech. Please send them in. You can send them in to either your teachers or send a video to cjennings@kipchicago.org. This also will help you get in our raffle to win a different prize. What you have to do is make an I have a dream video. You can say, I have a dream that blank. So you're going to start with, I have a dream that blank. And you're going to tell me whatever your dream is. So Thurgood Marshall's dream was that schools were desegregated from when he first tried to get into that law school and they didn't let him in because of his skin color, which is black. He didn't like that. And he went against not only the school that didn't let him in for law school, but every school around the whole country to help desegregate the schools for people like Ruby Bridges or the Little Rock Nine or Linda Brown to be able to go to those desegregated schools and help our school even today become a desegregated school. I'll cut that part. And now schools like our school are able to be desegregated, and we are able to give you guys a high quality education, even though a long time ago that wasn't a thing that could possibly happen. So now you guys are able to go to our school, get a high quality education, when back then it wasn't the norm, or back then it wasn't a thing, because there were black schools and white schools, and we don't have that anymore. That is not good. We are going for desegregated schools where we can learn and know that we are loved and we can achieve whatever we want. So see you guys next week. Hope you guys had fun learning about Thurgood Marshall.
A dream speech that we can change the world and make it a better place for everybody.
Jennings, this is Isaiah Franklin. I have a dream that I have a race car because I love race cars so much. Bye!